Tourniquets are always great, but what if we have to actually make one? So I pulled together just a few little random items. As you can see here, we have, this is just a tool to a socket wrench. This right here is just a permanent Sharpie marker. This is what's called a cravat or a triangle bandage, but you could really just use this as anything. I mean, if this was a shirt, it would still be just as effective. So we talked about actually how to use a real tourniquet, and that's the best case scenario. If we have a tourniquet, we always want to go to that first, especially with anything related to heavy bleeds. But we also want to know what to do if, in fact, we don't have a tourniquet and we're going to do what's called a makeshift tourniquet. So this is just really just a piece of cloth. This is known as a triangle bandage, also known as a cravat. As you can tell, I picked the high point real quick. These are your ends. And all I did was give myself a focal point. High stress situations, first thing that usually goes is fine motor skills, okay? So I gave myself a focal point to work with here. And what I'm going to try and do is, you could do this out of a shirt, a tablecloth, anything. Just you need a piece of cloth. What I'm going to do here is makeshift a tourniquet real quick. So as I walk through it, I'll just do my folds like so. I don't want to hurt my patient or my friend. So I give them a nice little fold where it's about 1.5 inches to 2 inches wide. So makeshift literally means what it states. I'm going to have to makeshift what a tourniquet is already about. So what I like to do is go in high and tight, the same thing. And from here, all I'm going to do is tie under, almost like you tying your shoes to start with. So I tie under and I'm going to cinch down as hard as I can. When I come to the top here, stretch your arm, I'm going to do the same exact thing. So I come to the top right here, and all that's going to happen is I'm going to singe down. These two singes at the bottom and the top will be the same thing as on a tourniquet if I put it on myself and then pull down. So now the next step to makeshift is the windlass itself. Now I grabbed some random items here. This goes to a socket wrench, and this is just a permanent Sharpie. Any one of these will work. A butter knife if you want a restaurant, just really your own creativity here. So what I want to do is give myself a place in which I can put my windlass. So I give myself one more little tie, and you see this nice little opening here. So my windlass is literally just going to go and sit right in there, and I'm going to singe down on top of it. I'll move it till it's about halfway, and then that's it. As my windlass goes, I'm going to start to turn, okay? And I get my little ends out of the way at all times, and you can already see the windlass is starting to snap back a little bit. So again, with any tourniquet, I'm going to continue to turn my windlass until I get effective tourniquet, and now what I'm looking for is bleeding to be stopped, checking a radial pulse. It's an absent radial pulse. I know that I'm doing everything right to stop the bleed. The thing here with makeshift tourniquets, though, that you want to look at is we don't have these nice little windlass clips. So when you turn a windlass and it's about to snap out of your hand, it goes right into a clip. We don't have that here. So all we have to actually stop it is what's known as an S-turn. So we have this, and we're just going to wrap around, okay? And the S-turn, and then we would tie off, okay? But what we really want to do before we do that is give that extra little half turn, because when we tie it off here, it will sort of snap back a little bit. So whenever you've gotten your windlass turned all the way to a point where you're getting effective blood stoppage, what you want to do is do about another half turn, apply your S-turn, and so when it snaps back in place, you don't lose the tourniquet you just made. It's already there, it's an effective position, and you actually already looked at the windlass coming back a little bit. So we've already been prepared for that, because again, we don't have these nice little windlass clips here to prevent the windlass from spinning out of our hands. Once that happens, we also don't have a nice little white strip here or anything like that. So for my patient, I would literally probably just write it on his forehead, T, and then time, or you could write it on his hand, anything like that, as long as we know the time in which we put the tourniquet on itself. So a doctor can actually go and look and say, all right, tourniquet was applied at this time, and this little area right here will actually show where we're actually going to deal with the wound at. And again, after tourniquet is applied, we always want to cover up the wound. We don't want to expose that to the open air. So our tourniquet here is the same as a regular tourniquet. It's just makeshift with a few other alternatives. You can again do this with a t-shirt, a piece of cloth, a tablecloth, anything, and then anything you want to use as a windlass itself. This was from a socket wrench. This is just a permanent marker, just some things I grabbed real quick to do. Our S-turn secured in place, and we're always expecting that nice little turn back.